Okay, hopefully the volume on this video will be a little bit better. I found my mistake from the last video. Let's look at 3B here. If the tank in 3A, which is 16 gallons, is filled to capacity, how many half-gallon bottles can be filled with the water in the tank? So this question is asking me how many blanks are in blank. So they want to know how many half gallons can be filled with the water tank. So how many halves are in 16? So for my model here, I'm going to break this into 16 pieces. So half, this has to be 8. So half, 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 half. So that's 8 gallons, and then half, 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 half. All right, there's my 16 gallons. And then if I'm thinking about taking those 16 gallons and cutting them in half, I could just cut across here. And now this is a half gallon and this is a half gallon. So I need to count how many halves are in 16. So thinking about it division-wise, what I just did there was I took 16 and divided it into halves. And then I could count up how many halves are there. Or I could think about, well, if I have 16 and there's 2 halves in each of those, I could do 16 times 2, which would give me 32. So we would be able to fill 32 bottles. Is that reasonable? Yes, because I have 16 gallons. I'm not using a full gallon for each bottle, so that tells me there is more bottles that I could fill than 16. So that would make sense to me. I could also confirm it by counting all of those, but I don't have time for that. So we'll just go with 32. All right, let's check the back. Hunter spent 2/3 of his money on a video game before spending half of his remaining money on lunch. Whew, I'm going to have to really wrap my head around that. Okay, so he spent 2/3 of his money, so that's a part of his money. Before he spent half of the remaining, so the leftover part, he took half of that leftover part to buy his lunch. If his lunch cost $10, how much money did he have at first? So I need to know 10 is, and I'm not even sure what fraction that is yet because 2/3 is the video game and this is referring to the lunch. So this is going to be kind of tricky. So I tried to give you a little hint here that we need to make our tape diagram so the tape represents the money he had at first. So this is his total money, which is what we don't know. How much did he have at first? We don't know. Then break the tape diagram to represent the money he spent on video games and label that. So he spent 2/3 of his money on a video game. So I'm going to break this into thirds. And this is going to be the video games. Well, then he spent half of the leftover. This is what was left over. And labels, again, really help us to kind of grasp what we're looking at and what parts we're doing and connect them to the problem. So I need half of this remaining money. So if I take this and I put half of that, the lunch cost $10. So one of these, one out of the 2 pieces, or half, was $10. Well, if this was $10, then this was $10. Does that make this $10? No, because these are thirds and this is half of a third. So I need to break this in half. Now this is $10. Now this is $10. Now this is $10. So 10 is really 1/6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is really 1/6 of what number? So 10 equals 1/6 of, multiply, Question, we're not sure. So what is the answer when we do 10 divided into 1/6? What do we get? Well, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And if I think about what I just did there is I did 10, I did 6 groups of 10. So there's my multiplication statement that is the same as dividing 10 into 6 and seeing how many groups there are, or doing 6 groups of 10. So the question, how much money did he have at first? Because I had to check. Do I need to know how much he spent on video games? Nope. All the question says is how much did he have at first? So I would say he had $60 at first. Again, that makes sense that he would have more money to start out before he bought a video game and spent some money on lunch. They might also ask me, how much money does he have left? Well, if he spent 2/3 on video games and half of the remaining on lunch, that would tell me that he had $10 left. They could also ask us how much the video games cost. So lots of questions that we could answer through our model here. All right. Now, number 5 and 6 are bonus questions. They are take a lot of thinking and a lot of connecting. So I would connect it back to this number 4 because they're kind of similar to that one. So students were surveyed about their favorite colors. 1/4 of the students preferred red. 1/8 of the students preferred blue, and 3/5 of the remaining students preferred green. If 15 students preferred green, how many students were surveyed? So how many students were surveyed? That would mean all of the students together is what I'm looking for. So I need to know 15 is what fraction of what number? I need to find out how many students were remaining after kids said red, blue, and green. Okay, so now let's dig into this problem here. So the hint tells us that we should break the tape so that we can label the students that preferred red. So 1/4 of the students preferred red. So I'm just going to break this into fourths real quick. And then this would be the section that would be red students. Then how can we label the students who preferred blue? Well, 1/8 of the students preferred blue. So if this is a fourth, if I wanted to break it into eighths, that means I need to break the fourths in half. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. So this piece right here would be the students that preferred blue. And then 3/5 of the remaining students. And, ooh, that's going to be tricky. Preferred green. Oh, so here is the remaining students. There happens to be 5 sections here. So 3/5 of that section, those are of the kids that were remaining, are the kids that liked green. So if those are the kids that preferred green, and we know that that is 15 students, what do I do with the 15 here? Well, I need to take 15 and split it evenly between these 3 sections. Whoops, not 3. 15 divided between 3 sections would be 5 in each section. So if there's 5 in each section, therefore there would be 5 in each of those. So if we have 15 and then we have 8 groups of 5, that would mean that there is a total of 40 students. So if we're kind of thinking back here, 15 we needed to know is what fraction is this section right here? It was 3/5 of the remaining, but what section of all of the students? It was 3 out of 8. So 15 is 3/8 of what number? So 15 equals 3/8 of what number? So that tells us that would have been 15 divided by 3/8. And so we took 15 and divided it between our 3 pieces and then multiplied that answer by 8. So again, that kind of equaled 15 times 8 divided by the 3 there. So 40 total students. All right. This last one here is going to be similar to the one we just spent. So Mr. Scruggs got some money for his birthday. He spent 1/5 of it on dog treats. Then he divided the remainder equally among his 3 favorite charities. What fraction of his money did each charity receive? So this time we're looking for a fraction, not for the amount of money. So let's break up this tape diagram. First, let's break it up to represent the dog treats, which would have been 1/5. So this is all of his money. And we'll break it into fifths here. So this is 1 out of the 5 pieces, which is dog treats. So then he divided the remainder equally among his 3 favorite charities. So what fraction of his money did each charity receive? Ooh, tricky. So if I have 3 charities and I have 4/5 left, how am I going to break that between 3 sections? So I feel like I could, here's a section, here's a section, here's a section, and then if I break this into thirds, 1, 2, then each of those would get 1 of that. So now I got to figure out what fraction this is. So I broke each of these sections into 3 pieces. So there's 5 groups of 3 pieces, so that's 15 pieces. And so then each of them would have gotten 4/15. So if he donated $60 to each charity, how much money did he receive for his birthday? So $60 is 4/15 of what number? So what fraction? He gave 4/15. $60 is 4/15 of what number? So 60 equals 4/15 times what? So this one might be the easiest to kind of picture 60. So if I have 60 here and I need to divide it between 4 pieces, 60 divided by 4 would be 15 in each piece. So that tells me that I have $15 in each of my 15 sections. So 15 times 15. He had $225 to start with. Whew, that was a doozy to think about. If I'm breaking it down again into what I actually did, I took the 60 and divided it between 4 pieces, found that answer and multiplied it by the 15 sections. So I did 60 times 15 divided by 4.